So guys, what's up? I'm here with Bass Kleph.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Oh, good man. Oh,
Thanks for having me on.
am I pronouncing that right? Bass Kleph? Yeah, right?
Bass Kleph, like with an F.
Oh, really?
So the normal spelling of the word would be Clef,
Hmm.
but I made up this name when how old would I have been? Probably like 20 years old. So I thought it was much cooler to spell it Kleph.
I actually always have thought that the Kleph was in Klep. Like music production Klep.
Like a hand clap.
Yeah,
I like that. Bass clap. All
yeah,
right.
because
Cool.
bass and Klep. I was like, oh, it's called Bass Kleph.
No, there's actually I've got a funny story about this. So the real meaning of it is from music theory, from when you have a treble clef and a bass clef, and to write your notes on writing notes on paper, basically.
Hmm.
So anything that's an upper register instrument is going to use treble clef, that little squiggly line you'd often see everywhere.
Hmm.
But less often you'd see the bass clef symbol, which is the curve with the two dots, and that's
Yeah.
where any bass parts would be written. So essentially, bass clef is all the bass heavy instruments, and that was what made me fall in love with dance music. When I
Ah,
first started going out to clubs, and I felt the way, because I come from rock and roll, playing in bands,
really?
and yeah, and so it was a different experience for me to go to these venues and feel so much bass and feel it shake my body, and the kick drums, the bass lines, and I was like, I fucking love this. This is awesome. So it clicked one day. I was trying to think of a name to call my music. I'm like, oh, someone was saying something about the bass clef, like the stave, and I'm like,
Hmm.
it's all about the bass. That's me. I'm all about it. That's awesome. I'm doing that. I'll call myself, but I'll spell it different because it's got to be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is
Well,
probably a little corny now, but hey, it's good for Google searches because it's spelled different. So
exactly. And I always
mm,
thought it was completely different. So yeah, that cleared things up for me.
yeah, you know what? As an artist, you always get. I'm sure you know this because you yourself do amazing music as JoeySuki. Um, you always get asked this question of like, where does your name come from
Mm.
in interviews and stuff. And one time, I was getting asked it so much. One time, I just made up a story. I said to the
Really?
guy, I'm like, all right, because I don't know, maybe I was tired touring and stuff, and I thought I'm just gonna make up a story what my name is. He goes, so what does bass clef mean? I'm like, oh well, it's actually a medical procedure. And he says, what do you mean it's a medical procedure? I'm like, well, it's when an operation sort of goes kind of right but kind of wrong, and the doctor leaves something accidentally behind
Hmm.
in the patient in the surgery, like maybe a ring or a watch or something. I don't know. He goes, wow, and I'm like, yeah, and you picked that? And I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I was really tired, just being stupid. Okay, fast forward 2 months later, and I'm doing another interview, and some guy pulls out this question and goes, "So I heard your name is based after a medical procedure."
You're like, dude.
It came full circle.
Yeah. That's how.
I I, I pissed myself laughing. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's how quick things go.
Yeah, yeah.
And like just to give the listeners some context, because I actually played a lot of your songs when I was still DJing, and I think describing your music would be a little bit tech house influenced, but still powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially at my peak, probably the records that you were playing, it might have been ones like Shakedown was one of my big ones,
Yeah.
and that was my first number one on Beatport. Another track called "I'll Be Okay," another number one, and around that time I was doing this kind of tech house sound, but I'd come out of electro as well,
Hmm.
so there was a vibe of electro in there, but it was definitely made for tech house.
Yeah.
So it worked well for me because it set me up. I didn't plan on this, but it set me up to be the kind of the halfway point,
Hmm.
for people that were sort of getting into tech house.
Yeah.
I was like the gateway
Yeah.
artist for it. And I mean, I get a lot of bookings for, say, it works well as a warm up act for a big electro guy
Mm.
because I'm not too overpowering, and it would work well as a headliner for a tech house thing because it's a bit of a bigger sounding tech house.
Yeah.
So it was good, and it's really fun. I still really like that kind of sound too. But I've written a bit of everything over the years. I started out, as I said, in rock and roll, which is a whole nother story. And then as a drummer, and then the first electronic music I really got into was drum and bass,
Hmm.
and I started writing a bit of that and a bit of breakbeat. My first records I released were breakbeat. Actually, I won an award for best breakbeat remix at Breaks Poll in like 2004 or something back in the day. Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
So you've been in music for like a long time. Even before the whole bass clap thing.
Yeah. Always been in music. I was a drummer since I was 8 years old, and played in loads of bands at school. And we were lucky enough to be in one of those school bands where we kind of like won every competition. We were killing it. This was happening before I got there, so there was a tradition to uphold. So they put a lot of pressure on us and pushed us. I think that probably helped me a lot at the start too, like, and to have go to those competitions and compete. And then I started getting into bands outside of school. You know, like I realized, hang on, I know how to play this instrument, and I listened to my favorite records, and hey, me and my friends could play this. So we started our own punk rock bands and things like that. I was in a couple of different ones, but one I joined in when I was about 15 years old. That one blew up. That one turned in. It was called Loki, Loki. I don't think there's much about it on the internet because it's pre-internet. Because when I was 15, it was 1995. I'm old. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in what kind of terms did that blow up? Like what happened?
So I go to the tryout. My friend, actually, they had another drummer, but they weren't happy with him, and they auditioned me to come in and take over. And I already liked their band. I'm like, wow, you want me to come in and replace him? Wow, I'm on it. You know, I mean, I feel bad for him, but you know. So I go to the tryout, and it was this is a funny story actually. The producer is there too. There's the singer and guitarist and the bass player, and they bring their own producer in, and he introduces himself. I'm the band producer, older guy, much older guy. And as I start playing the songs that I've been rehearsing of theirs, he grabs some drumsticks out of my stick bag and starts banging on shit around the room. He's banging on the fan, he's banging on the desk, and like out of time, like badly. I'm like, this guy's trying to fuck me up. He's trying to throw me off and see if I'm going to get upset or mad or something. I'm like, I'm just going to focus and kick some butt. I'm like, I got this, you know. I mean, I've been doing this since 8 years old. So I did my thing, and fortunately and luckily, they're like, yeah, we like it. That was great. If you want to join, we'd love to have you. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. And they said, okay, cool. So if it's official, we can now tell you that we have a major label deal that we were just waiting on finding the right drummer for. I'm like, oh, amazing. So immediately we signed to Festival Records, went and cut an album with at the same studios that AC/DC recorded their album at.
Okay.
So I had this incredible experience of like 15 into 16 years old, going and recording in these top studios and being treated like a professional and being treated like an adult, which is really nice, you know.
How did you experience that? Because at 16 or 15, like, you're just a kid, you know, like you have no idea about how the world works, or you think you know, but you don't.
Yeah, that's right.
But how did you experience that whole period? Because I can imagine that's like intense, right?
Yeah, mostly just exciting. Mostly just like, this is so cool. I can't believe we get to do this. And it felt really nice that, you know, everybody at the label and everyone in the studios would treat you like an adult, rather than at school you're always, you know, sort of talked down to, and you're just another kid and learn whatever. And we're like, wow, is this what it's like when you're grown up and you're like, you know, people aren't assholes? It's got me really excited about just doing my own thing, like doing my own music and stuff. And that's where I definitely fell in love with the recording process. Okay. I didn't really have any draw to that before. I was all about drums, but then seeing the way they recorded the album and what studios are like and how it all works and mixing it down, I was like, I love this. This is awesome. I want to know more about it. This was in the
CD area, right? So vinyl wasn't a thing anymore.
Not really. I mean, DJs were spinning vinyl, but we as a band, we would release a CD. Yeah, we would release a vinyl or a cassette. Yeah. But there was also a defining moment too. So we go in to record the album. It was at Albert Studios in North Sydney. And the first couple of days is all about the drums in a band. So they record my drums and they spend the whole 2 days getting the mics perfect, getting the drums tuned perfect, everything, just all attention on me. You feel really spoiled, you know. It's a great ego boost, you know. All about me. Record everything. We're playing it back through the speakers in the studio afterwards. Going, yeah, sounds dope. Really happy. Then after that, they do the same thing for the bass player. Then after that, for the guitars, and then for the singer. I mean, on the first take, like everyone's playing together, but like one at a time, they spend time on each person. Yeah. So I love my drums at the start. They sounded great. And then the bass goes on and the drums get a little quieter. And then the guitars go on and the drums get a little quieter. And the vocals go on and a few effects. And by that time, the drums are fucking distant way in the background. I'm like, man, all the things I liked about my drums are so quiet and distant now. I realize that rock and roll is really about guitars, not drums, isn't it? You know? So then around the same time, I heard the Crystal Method, I heard Prodigy, I heard Ronnie Size, I heard all these other people. I'm just like, oh my God, the and Chemical Brothers, the drums are so loud and up front. This is my music. This is a music style that puts my instrument at the front. Mm-hmm. I want to learn more about this.
And that's where you went to that side, or?
Yeah, pretty much. And that was a hobby at that point. I just write whatever I could with whatever I could. Mm-hmm. I'd go into our music room at high school, mm-hmm. and we had an Atari ST computer running like Cubase 1 and some bad Yamaha sound module. But we did have a Roland JX3P, which is an analog digitally controlled synth. So I'd hook all those up, and I was meant to be working on my music project for high school, but I just sat there and wrote drum and bass all day. And I loved it. And I somehow convinced them that I could take it home for the summer. I was like, I couldn't afford to buy stuff, and there wasn't even stuff out there. There wasn't even software. I was just like, you guys need to lend me this. So I need to spend the whole summer writing tunes with this. And I loved it. And I think after that, I got, the only thing I could afford that was close to what I was kind of imagining was this game called Music for PlayStation. Oh, really? And you could, I had a PlayStation. You could put this music game in there, and it was full of it had its own samples. Mm-hmm. You couldn't sample into it or synthesize, but you could arrange the samples and program beats, and had like pre-made synth stuff. So you could write music. And I wrote a bunch of stuff with that, and I wrote it in my spare time between working on the band. Eventually, I got one of those Roland MC303 groove boxes and started building up a bit of a hardware setup. I don't think I went through a few different things. I don't think I actually got to software till maybe like 2002 or 3 when Reason came out. When Reason came out,
Reason. I was so terrible at Reason.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you had to plug everything yourself, right? You had to do all those wires on the background, like plug it in yourself. And I think I downloaded Reason just when I got started, and I had no clue what to do because I didn't know anything about music production. So I saw the screen with all those wires, and I was like, fuck me. Like, how does this work? So I just tried it out for a couple of times and deleted it and started off with Cubase.
Right. Gotcha. Man, for me, that was everything I was looking for because I was using all this hardware, and Reason was a model of all the things I couldn't afford. So I was like, you mean I can get all these things in one box? And like, it was a bummer to give away the hardware, to sell my stuff and focus more on that, not have the hands-on thing, but the possibilities and what I could do with it was just, I couldn't say no. Yeah. So I got stuck into that and actually with Reason, I wrote my first couple of tracks. I think they got me signed. No, even on my hardware. The first tracks I wrote on my hardware. So
like the house tracks?
They were breakbeat back then, actually. Okay. But I'm skipping a step. At this point, the band broke up. Around about 2001. Band broke up. The singer didn't want to be in a professional band anymore. He was trying to figure his life out, and he wrote most of the songs. So it was hard to replace him. You can't really replace him. And it's hard to find a good band. And anyone who's in a good band will tell you, or even anyone who's in a bad band will relate here as well. It's hard to find people that you can get along with who are good players, who can write good songs and perform good songs. And there's just so many boxes to tick for the ideal combination. It's really hard. And I realized that I just lucked out. I happened to find 2 other guys who it was the magic combo. So like, do I want to go through that hassle of trying to figure this all out again? Or I'm so in love with this dance music stuff. Maybe I should give that a shot. Yeah. And I'm proud of younger Stu that I did this, that I just, I went all in. I sold my drums and cymbals, bought more studio equipment and just went hard and cut some demos, gave them to DJs in Sydney. They started playing them, introduced me to some local labels and ended up getting signed off those demos just by committing, going, this is I fucking loved it. I'd be up till like 3 or 4 in the morning every night writing music.
And then you just started like dropping CDs, or was it already email at that time? I guess it was email.
Yeah, mostly you might talk to people on email, but you wouldn't send links or something. You'd post a CD. Yeah, it was still the time you would post someone a CD.
So you were starting to promote your music through sending CDs, and DJs started picking it up.
Yep. I'd hand it to them in the club. I'd go to the club where they were playing, and I was already a fan of their performances, and I knew they might like my music because they played stuff similar.
Yeah.
And I was inspired by what they played. And then I would go to them and go, hey, I really love what you do. We've probably already spoken, and I'm like, here's some stuff that I wrote as well too. If you get a chance, I'd love you to check it out. Let me know what you think. Unfortunately, yeah, they did. They checked it out and they were into it, and they started playing it. And they'd even do really nice things too, like, hey, are you coming down to the club tonight? Message me. I'm gonna play your track in case you want to hear it. Like, dude, I'm definitely coming.
That's different times, you know. Like if you send demos right now, it's war. It's
right.
crazy.
It's I think it didn't happen as much back then because it wasn't as accessible. You would only get the amount of demos that were physically handed to you. Yeah. So there weren't as many happening.
So yeah, because that's one of the things that a lot of people are struggling with right now, right? So getting your music supported by DJs, which is a great way to to gain an audience and to reach a new audience.
Absolutely.
But it seems like it worked out well for you.
It did. I think maybe, I mean, I was lucky in some ways of the time I was in that it was more direct, not as much noise, but also it was a smaller scale. I'll give you an example of this. So, I mean, I gave it to guys like, who did I give it to? Like Ajax is a famous DJ from Australia. He played it and that really supported me a lot. Rest in peace for Ajax. I miss that guy. He's a legend. Somatic, a bunch of other DJs back there, but they're not like super huge international ones. Recently, I started my new side project called Analog Soul. And I wanted to not tell anybody it was me when I first launched it. I wanted to just, because I'd taken a break from music for about 2 years. So I was like, I just want to put this out and see how people react to it before I tell them it's me or before I call in any favors. I could do that if I really wanted to, but I want to see, have I still got what it takes? You know, that kind of shit.
Like challenge yourself.
Right. You got to practice what you preach. So I sent it out to some people, and one of the people I sent it to was Solomon. And I don't know him personally. I know a lot of famous DJs, but not him. But I got his email off a website somewhere and just sent it, cold call. Hey, I'm this brand new artist, Analog Soul. Here's my track, Trinidad Dreams. He ends up playing it, and he plays it at Circle Festival in France. One of those ones where they film it, and it's a big production.
Yeah,
and
it looks great.
Yeah, it gets played all over YouTube. Man, it's had like 10 million views or something now. And that just launched my whole new project.
But
now,
like,
just by
you send that email to him? So just a regular promo email?
Yep.
And then he starts like playing it?
Yeah. He never replied. He never replied. And I followed him up afterwards and said, dude, thanks so much for playing my track. I really appreciate it. It's really helpful to me. And does this mean you're interested in maybe signing it for Dynamic or... Didn't hear anything. maybe wrote back one more time after that, then gave up. I'm like, all right, I'm just happy that you played it. That's cool. Like, you don't have to write back. You don't have to sign it. It's still helpful. But I think that's a great example of the fact that you really never know. Like, you should send all your tracks out to anybody and everybody you can. Because I didn't tell him I told him I'm a brand new artist, and I had 5 followers on SoundCloud or something. I was a nobody, right? You know.
Yeah, but you know, in the end, it's all about music. As in, you can do everything in the best way possible, but if your music sucks, like it's the fundament of everything.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry. I was taking that for granted. Yeah, that has to come first. Your music has to be good first.
You know, I'm a big believer of like promotion and marketing and all those things work. But when your music sucks, like you can reach the biggest audience you know, but if the track sucks, I'm not sure if that's gonna work, you know. And
well, it could even be negative. It might make them close. They might be like, if you do it once, it might not be a problem. But if you like send 10 tracks to somebody and each time it's not up to the standard they're hoping for, they might stop looking at your emails after a while. Yeah. So it's really important to have a good group of peers or a professional, ideally a coach or someone that you can send your music to and get qualified ears to listen to and give you advice and say if it's ready or what you could do to make it better. Because then you can send it with confidence and be like, okay, this is ready. I can keep sending these, and I know that it's not going to hurt me if I keep sending these. Yeah.
And for you, because you've been, same for me, like you've been an artist in times where there wasn't as much noise as there is right now. What do you think changed that made things so much? Well, let's just say this. I'm really wondering if it became harder, or what's the right way to say it? Like, I think it was already hard at the times that, like 10 years ago, it was just as hard.
Yeah,
but right
I think
now,
so too.
You just see a lot more people trying because it's been made visual. Like you can actually see more people trying. And at that moment, there was no social media, so you didn't see anyone working on music or sending their demos or whatever. I'm just. What do you think changed that made it harder? Or
the internet changed it all for sure. Because before that, you would only meet up with people, other producers, if you met them at a show or somebody introduced you to them. It was like solely a human analog connection.
Yeah.
Now you'll meet all these people through the internet, and people can become famous through the internet. And something that helped really change it a lot too is that we're selling music through the internet, streaming and MP3s. That's really changed the landscape as well. Like now, it's a double-edged sword that everyone can have the same records as each other. Like I remember when I was starting out, it was all vinyl. I go down to my local record shop and I'd grab whatever I could that was new, and I could probably afford like maybe 5 records a week or something, because they're like $20 a record.
Yeah,
so it's $100, all right?
Yeah.
People don't spend that on MP3s. Yeah. But we would do it every week at least. Sometimes, $200 on records, and you're only coming home with 5 or 10 records. So you take a lot of time making sure they're good, which is also good training. But I'd see one of the big famous DJs in town. He would come into the shop, and when he says hello to the guy behind the counter, the guy at the counter would pull out some special records from underneath the counter that he saved just for him, because he's the most famous DJ in town, and he gets the pick of the crop. He gets the things that not everyone else gets, the ones where there's only 2 or 3 records. So that would make you want to go and see that guy's show, because he had records that nobody else had. But now if we're all getting stuff on Beatport or SoundCloud or anything, or swapping or pirating or whatever, we've all got the same records as each other, the same access. It's great in some ways, but it's kind of taken some of that draw and appeal out of it. And it might be affecting
exclusivity maybe as well.
Yeah. So I think DJs that are customizing their own versions of songs and definitely playing their own records and unreleased records is really helpful. I think you've got to still consider what's special about my set. Like why would people want to come and see me when they see my name on the flyer, that kind of shit. Yeah.
I don't think right now it's not even the music anymore. Like why if you go to like a regular festival right now, there's 50 DJs playing at one day. How are you going to set yourself apart? I don't think that's the music anymore. Like,
not so much. There's a lot of other medium in there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, like there's a lot more entertainment value that you need to add to the show to become more interesting. And there are ways to make your music more interesting. I think Sam Feld is like a great example of it. Like he takes live artists and melds them into the show. Like he does live performances during his DJ show. That all spices up your music performance. But then when you have a look at Steve Aoki, for instance, like the throwing cakes and stuff, it's all entertainment value.
Yeah.
And it's a reason for people to come to your show and choosing you instead of the other 49 DJs playing that day.
Absolutely. I think there's still, in the same sense, there are some people that just because their songs are that popular and just because their people love their music that much, people will still go too. But yeah, there's both happening at the same time. Yeah. And ideally, you want both of those things. You want music that is so good that your fans passionately love it, and they simply have to come and hear it live or DJ'd. And they also want to see what you're going to perform. There's a really good show here. I live in Barcelona these days, by the way, guys. And there's a really good show that started here called El Ro.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know.
yeah, it's super visual, and they now tour it all over the world. They're killing it.
Yeah.
And how could I describe it? It's kind of like Cirque du Soleil with techno.
Yeah. It's more like a carnival, some kind of carnival.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just performers and people on stilts and crazy dressed up things. It's an experience, and people go there more so for the brand of the event rather than the actual DJs. Like you would just go because they're doing a party. I don't need to check the flyer. I know it's going to be good.
Yep.
You know, they pick good DJs, and you're mostly going for the experience.
Yeah. And I think that changed a lot in the last years. Like when I started playing and you were playing as well, you most of the times got booked because of your music and because of your reputation in the industry. But you only got your reputation because of your music, right? That kind of was the only way to become a bigger name, was by releasing on big labels and by getting supported by bigger names. That was the gateway to success. And right now, there's a lot more opportunities to get success. You know, like
absolutely, man. And this comes full circle to what you're saying before about how things have changed from maybe the early 2000s to now. It was all just about those labels, and you just had to get signed and get vinyl out. Yep. But now there's so much potential with things like YouTube and Instagram and the other content you can create that's not just music, the visuals you could do, or the show performance, the way you bring in live performers, the way you use modern technology, maybe perform live too. I think that's awesome, because it's just we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Dance music's about reinventing whatever technology is in front of us, whatever we've got a hand on. Like turntables were not made for what we do with them. Neither was a 909 or a 303. Yeah. Have you heard what they thought a 303 was meant to be used for? It's terrible.
Well, what was it meant to be used for?
It was meant to be like a artificial little bass player for a keyboardist, a little backing. So like as you're practicing your keyboard,
really,
you would have your 303 play a bass line so that you could just practice your keys, or maybe if the bass player didn't make it to the show, that was your fill-in. Okay. I think acid house is a much better option. I think we came up with some cooler shit.
But I think like if you have a look at most producers, like in the end we're all nerds, like we're all like these little button twisters, and we want to switch things up and try new things. And most of the DJs and producers that I know are really interested in gadgets as well. Like the last iPhones and this and that and all those Google Home stuff and least,
well, it makes sense. They say that the part of your brain that does a lot of the music is the same part that handles maths. And so often people who are into music are also into computers and vice versa. And it's something to do with the way we recognize and appreciate patterns. Yeah. Like patterns and also what we like dance music and repetitive things like techno and stuff, because you appreciate the simplicity and beauty and patterns and design and minimalism, things like that. I think these all cross over. Like even cooking. Yeah, a lot of DJs that are really into cooking and food too, and because it's a similar kind of thing. You're mixing some ingredients to get an end result. That's what we do with music. I think for me,
what I realized a couple of years ago is that I'm not necessarily like an artist, as in I like making music, but it's not like it's the only thing I like. I think it's the part where you create something, which could be cooking, which could be how do you call it? Like handcrafting things, like making furniture or whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you're creating something out of nothing, that's something that really inspires me and that gets me going.
Me too.
And music is just a part of that,
Yeah. Even photography, I like taking photos and stuff too. Yeah, even if I'm not sharing with them with people, I usually don't. They're just photos for me, But
and I do it with my content right now as well. Like all the content that comes out from my side, I created myself. Like the video editing, the photoshopping, it's all creation in some kind of way.
That's right, man. That's right. And I think if I couldn't do that, like if I was banned from making music, taking photos, cooking food, whatever, that would kill me. I think I've got something in my soul that just says you need to make something today. It just happened to me every morning. It's like, you've got to make something. It's not that clear. It's more like a vague thing, but I feel driven by that for sure. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, I love it. And I love that it can make something and, make people happy. And especially if it's something that lasts eternally, like music these days, now that it's on the internet, it's going to be there forever.
Yeah. I even had I'm not sure if you know, but I wrote a book last year. And that was also one of the things, like, I hate books. I don't read. I don't like to read. I listen to books.
Me too.
But I don't read them. But I always had this idea in my mind to write a book, right? And somehow I even enjoyed the process of creating a book while I don't like books. But it's just the whole creation thing again, right? So you're creating this thing from nothing. You're creating this book.
Dude, I can relate. I feel the same way about the courses I make. I never would have pictured that I would enjoy making courses so much.
Yeah.
But I love the idea that I've got all this knowledge in not to talk myself up or something, all this knowledge in my head from doing this shit for so long.
Yeah.
And from doing it, learning from nothing and going through the wrong things, going through the hard way, figuring out bad problems, being fucked over and having to get past it, all these lessons.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when all people care about is like the music you write or the DJ set you play, it's like, I feel like I've got more to offer the world. Like, there's all this stuff locked in my head. So I think it's almost cathartic to make these courses where I explain all my secrets and how I, realized was the best way to write music and mix it and everything.
Yeah.
Because I feel like at least I'm not going to die with all this shit locked in my head. Other people are going to get to learn it too. And the stuff I know now, I wish I knew 15 years ago. Oh my God. I wish I even knew it 5 years ago. It would have saved me so much hassle.
Yeah.
So if I can help anybody with that anytime, that just blows my mind. And I do. So it's unreal to see it when they come back and their eyes light up and they're like, oh my God, I just finished the Road to Main Stage and it fucking changed my life. I'm like, awesome, cool, and I love that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I definitely agree with you. Like sharing the knowledge and seeing that you're actually capable of helping someone with it. That's great to experience.
Oh man, it definitely drives me on to run my education business for sure, because otherwise I probably would have gotten bored of it. I think it's seeing the human appreciation and like the success, the results, that makes me get excited to go like, okay, I need to do more of this. Like, this is working and you guys love it and I'm helping people.
Yeah.
Because it's, as an artist, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love being an artist. I'm still writing as Analog Soul. I don't have much time right now because I'm still wrapping up my education business, but I'm excited to wrap it up so I can do more of that. Mm-hmm. But most of the time as an artist, I'm usually saying to people, hey, I've got a new track out. Can you buy it? Can you support it? Or, hey, I'm playing a show this weekend. Can you get a ticket and come down? I'm always asking something of somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's nice to do my education business where I'm kind of like, hey, man, how are you? How is your music? What do you need? What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And that's been such a refreshing change for me, because I've been in electronic music for 17 years now. So this is new to me, to do that concept of just directly one-on-one and helping people.
And that's so weird if you think about it, because especially as an artist, like looking back in hindsight, I did the same exact thing. Like I also only asked people like buy my track, visit my show, blah, blah, blah. But I think if you reverse it and if you start giving people things, they will automatically come to you if they like what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I really want to apply it into my new project. That mentality. I don't know how, but I'm going to keep that in my mind of like, if there's ever any way I can do things for people as Analog Soul that helps them, I'm going to do it, rather than, complain that I don't have a show or I'm not signed to that label. I'm like, well, what can I do? I don't know. Like I'll do remixes for free for certain people, or I'll do this. I'll help them with their thing, or I'll throw a show and get them a booking. I'll give them a show, you know. Or always looking at it from what can I do for them first. It just works, man, and it just feels like you're doing what the universe wants. Not to get woo-woo, but it feels like you're doing what the universe kind of wants us to do, and it just feels nice. And makes other people happy, their stuff works, and then your stuff works, and everything's all good after that.
But don't you think that the only way, well, not the only way, but why this is possible for you to do is because you're not financially connected to being an artist anymore?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That helps so much.
Yeah,
man. And the funny thing is, that's most people. Mm-hmm. Most people have a day job and they're writing music on the side.
Yep.
And they're really eager to quit their day job and be full-time music. I would say don't rush that.
No,
because
exactly.
I can tell you from experience of doing a long time of making music my sole income, it puts a lot of pressure on it. And it's okay when things are going well, but things tend to go in waves. They go up and down. You'll be riding the high, and then there'll be a tough time, and then it usually comes back every time. But you just got to brace yourself for those when there's a quiet time and the pressure you feel, because it's one thing to try and sit down and write a good song or just write music you like when you've got a stable career or something. But try sitting down and doing that when that is the only way to pay the bills, and you feel all the pressure of, if I fuck this up, I can't pay the rent, you know? So that you're not going to be as experimental when you're worried about stuff like that. You're not going to be often as true to yourself and to your art, and to make and that's what makes the best art. And I definitely am guilty of feeling that pressure and changing my work and being like, I need to, because I had people in my ear, my managers and agents at the time, like, if you can write a song like this guy, or if you can write a hit one like that, or if we can get it played on this radio station, then you'll play that festival and you'll get that money you need, and we'll do that tour you want, and you'll collaborate with that person. Basically, all the things you want will happen if you do what we say.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to hear that when you're under that pressure, and it definitely changes your art and changes how much you enjoy it.
And how did it affect you? Like, because you enjoyed it less, but did it also change your sound?
Both. Yep. It made my sound more big room, more commercial than I ever would have probably done by myself.
Yep.
And it made me not enjoy it as much, for sure too. The pressure of it, because you would feel like that if I was ever sitting down to write music, it should only be for one purpose, and that's to make a hit, which is like the worst way ever to do it, right? But I was blinded by that because I was so under pressure from these guys. You know, they're like, we need this or we need that, or fuck. You do this for a long time, and they're like little changes that happen and creep in slowly, and you don't realize what's happening until you look back. And it's hard to have perspective, I suppose.
Exactly.
Like, I'm describing this story and you're probably all sitting there thinking, I would never do that. That's easy to tell, you know. But trust me, when you're there, it's easy to get blinded. So I'm there, I'm blinded, I'm writing more what they think I should write, more commercial, more big room, more radio. And every time I opened the door, I felt pressured to, like, I have to write a hit right now. I can't just have fun. I can't just experiment. I can't just play with sounds. I definitely can't write another genre.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have time to start a new alias. All things I would have loved to have done. And then I'd be halfway through a song and be, I'd love to take this in a weird direction. No, I better not, you know. And of course, that sucks the fun out of it. Then it feels like work. Yep. It's not fun. It's just work. So you write less. I wrote less tracks than I normally would. Still finish them and stuff. Like, I suppose it's good for work ethic. It taught me how to push through.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it, and that's what led me into, you know, when I stopped writing, took a break, and ended up fortunately starting this finding something beautiful to start, like this education company. So I stopped and thought, like, I don't like what I'm doing. Around about the same time I moved to Barcelona, so I'm like, I'm just going to chill. I don't really need to work anyway. I'm fine. I was fine for money, so I'm like, I'm just going to take a break and just go on holidays for a while and have a think about this. I don't know even if I was going to write something else, I don't know what style I would write. I've been so buried in this for so long. I need perspective.
Yeah.
And I was doing a little bit of mix down work and ghostwriting work for some people, for some pop artists here and there, just for a little bit of additional income. But even that I didn't like. I was like, actually, mix down work I love. I love doing mix downs. There's something beautiful and simplistic about, you know, it's just a process, and I love it.
And how did you get back that perspective? Like,
well, I think it was working with other people. So I was doing those mixes and ghostwriting, but then the more I'd speak to people because a lot of it coming from my followers and stuff, a lot of that work or other people in the industry, and they'd be like, you know what I'd like to know even more than you writing a track for me, or even more than you mixing a track for me, is show me how you do it. Like, teach me to be you. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I can teach you what I know. Yeah, sure. So I ran an experiment, and I said, I'm going to take on like 10 people as mentor students for 1 month, and limited amount, and it just sold out like in like 2 hours or something. I was like, shit, I think I figured out what people actually want. This is what I shouldn't waste my time on the other stuff. This is what they really care about, so I'll give them what they want and help them out. And it was awesome. I helped them so much, and they're like life-changing things. They're like, fuck, I've been struggling with this problem for so long, or I was about to give up on music, and then you showed me this, that I can do it, and now I'm going to fucking do it. I'm like, oh, I'd save somebody that was about to stop. That's so sad. Like, it's like, and I can parallel, because it's like, imagine me stopping. I would have been so feeling like I couldn't never write music again. Like, I took a long break, but I was like, imagine if I just never did it again. So I was like, I need to learn more. I want to do more of this. I kept doing some more mentoring, and man, I learned so much from working with all these people one-on-one about common things, problems that they're all going through. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, a lot of those common problems they're going through, I've been through as well. Yep. And I had an answer to it. So they said, oh, going through this, and I'm like, I've got you. It's this. You just need to do that. This took me 3 years to figure out, but I can tell it to you in 3 seconds. You know, and so that was unreal. And then, but I started getting swamped with it. Started getting so many people coming through. I couldn't help everybody I wanted, and I found I was repeating myself because of these common problems. So, man, I'm just going to put this in a course. I'll record all this, because for me to charge for my time one-on-one, it's a top shelf. I charge a lot because my time's worth a lot. It's worth a lot to me too. It took me a long time to learn all this stuff, and I'd also like to be writing music as well. So, so I charge a premium rate for my one-on-one stuff. But I thought, man, if I pre-recorded all this stuff, I could make it so much cheaper because I don't have to actually be there, and then more people can learn at a more affordable price, and they get just as good. They get all the help they need. So I made this course, The Road to Main Stage, and that's basically that. It's like my system of everything to help me compete on an international level as a DJ and producer. But with all the insight I learned from working with people one-on-one for like 2 years, like all their common problems, I put that in the answers to all those things too. Yeah. So I think that's why it's been doing so well. But that time I spent doing all this and working with everybody got me excited to go, I want to write music again too. And then being here in Barcelona, being surrounded by all the amazing techno and tech house, I was like, I want to get back to my roots of tech house. And I started hearing some cool melodic stuff, and I started getting back into hardware, because that was my roots too, and playing live. I'm like, it's been so long since I've had hardware. I've been like just digital only for so long. I'm like, I'm going to buy some synths. I'm going to get some analog shit and like put it all together. I'm like, that's it. I'm going to play live music with melodic tech house on hardware. Yeah. Like, I'm going to do that. But
you know what's fun is that you see this happening with so many artists. Like, they start off by doing what they love, then somehow they most of the time, because of other people's opinions, they switch things up and they change their styles or whatever they change.
Yeah.
They keep doing this for months or years. Then they find out, like, I don't even like this anymore. And what you see doing is that they go back to the thing that they started off doing with.
Yep.
That was the thing that you liked. That was the thing that got you big. And you changed it because of other people.
That's right.
And then you come back to the core.
And now I've never been so clear about how important that is. About, like,
it just sounds so simple. Like, do what you love.
It sounds too simple, right? Yeah. People, you always hear this in interviews. Do what you love. Believe in yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seriously, everybody should take 5 seconds to just really let that sink in. Really do that. Like, I can't emphasize how important it is, and it's not, because it's so tempting and easy to give people what they want. especially as a DJ, because you see the immediate crowd reaction. You play that vocal track that they all want and they go crazy and the promoter's happy, and that's the beginning of the end. That's when you start going down that rabbit hole of then you're making songs that you think people are going to like, or that label's going to like. It'll work, sure. You'll probably get popular. You'll probably get famous. You'll probably make some money, yeah. But you will hit a point where you're like, I don't like what I'm doing. And it's if you're any kind of artist like me and Joey here too, where creation is important and you feel it in your soul, it's gonna break your soul to sit there and be like, I don't care about how my status right now or how high profile I am. If I'm not enjoying what I'm making and what I'm known for, kills you.
It's another one of those cliches, like money isn't the most important thing. Like
that's right.
It's fun to have, but it's just not a long-term plan if you're not doing what you love doing.
Yeah. So when you stick to what you love, it's scary. That's probably why most people don't do it. I
think that's more because you're exposing your 100%, like it's 100%
truth,
right?
Yeah,
it's
that's
the truth.
Right.
So it's if you're changing it a little bit, you're actually disguising a little bit, like okay, this is me for like 80%, but maybe 70% and some other ingredients. But if you really do what you love, it's 100% you. That's scary, because if someone doesn't like it, it's even scarier.
Right, exactly, man.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to do, but it also explains why we often don't do it. Because, like you say, if it's 100% you, if you're completely vulnerable like that, and if someone says your song sucks, you're like, well, that's completely me, so I guess that completely sucks, whatever, But if you're writing just what everyone else is writing, you're like, oh, yeah, well, I'm only going to do electro for a little bit more, then I'm going to do, some Baltimore bass or something, You're like, don't take it personally, because what do they say? You're not wearing your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah, exactly.
But you fucking should. You should do it, because I think so many people hit me up to and go, how do I find my unique sound? And it's this, is just being yourself. Just the fact that if you only do what you love, you will tend to pick certain things that only you would pick, or write certain things that only you would write.
Yeah.
And it tends to just sound like you, and it has your own unique sound, and that's it. It's not buying some new synth.
No.
It's not doing a sound design course. It's staying true to yourself and writing what you love. I mean, you got to have a certain amount of, basic skills, but stay true to yourself and write what you love.
Picking the things that you like, as in the whole music production process is making 1,000 decisions. That's what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And every hi-hat that you pick, like there's a million hi-hats that you can pick, but you chose that one,
Yeah.
And that changes the whole track. Even the kick, the clap, the hi-hat, where you pan it, which reverb you use, all those little decisions stacked up, that's your sound.
Yeah.
And there's no one on this earth who can replicate it, because it's too complicated, like it's too how do you call it? It's too
intricate,
specific. Like so detailed. And of course you can copy it and kind of make it sound the same, but you can never make it completely the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing. So anyone out there who's struggling with their sound, going, how do I find my sound? Just be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be anybody else. But if you like something, do it. Like, say maybe you like I don't know, I can't think of an example right now. Maybe you like a certain electro artist and you've been copying some of their stuff, right? It's okay to, if you like electro and you like their vibe, be influenced by it, but don't try to be them.
Yeah.
And don't ignore your other influences. Like maybe you also like classical music. Maybe you also like techno as the other end of the spectrum. Stick them all together. Stick all those things together. Even if people tell you that doesn't work and that's not normal, that's probably all the more reason to do it.
Yeah.
All your favorite things in one is what it should be.
Yeah, I think that's where new genres begin, and where if you're like the first person who starts a new thing that catches,
then you own it.
Yeah, like I think Oliver Heldens is a great example of that one. Like he somehow combined multiple genres into a genre, and in the beginning everyone was like, "Oh, this sounds weird," it's different, and people don't like different because it's new, and everything which is new is not definitely better for them. But then when you start pushing through and people see like, hey, this is actually pretty cool, you will be the first guy who actually started doing it.
That's right. That's right. And as that sound gets more and more popular, they'll always be booking you as the headliner to come and showcase it because you originated it.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's your retirement right there.
Yeah.
You're set for life after that, and you'll be playing shit you love. You'll be the boss of it. That is absolutely worth the couple of years of quietness that it might take for that to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
It pays off in the end. It's a long game.
Yeah. I saw this metaphor last, I think a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Like, it's this little seed that you plant, and that's like the start of your career. And like, it starts to grow, but it depends on how thick the mud is, how fast it grows, right? So it depends like how easy it's going to be, like how many people like your music or whatever's on this planet that might stop you from reaching what you actually want. But for some people it's like loose sand and you'll just cut through it, and for some other people it's really thick mud and you have to work really hard to get through it. And I think if you stick close to yourself and if you make music that you like, it might not be the most easy path, but it will be the most what's the English word?
Rewarding?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
The most rewarding and the most long term as well.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think it will only be hard at the start. It will get easier later, but the start is definitely harder. That's why most people don't do this. But I thoroughly recommend it. Having done it the other way, I wish I only ever did it and just stayed true to what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think that's a great way to end this conversation. Like, do what you love to do.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, me too. Like, if I look back in hindsight to my own career and looking at all the clients that I have now as well, it all seems so simple looking back, you know, like, why did I make that decision? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And at that moment, it just made sense. And right now you think like, why did I listen to someone else? Why did I didn't just stick to what I like doing? And it's just funny to see how all those things go.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Cool. Well, nice talking to you. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Likewise. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck with the education company.
Thanks, man.
And we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely. Take care, Joey.
You too. Bye.